On this week's program, on this week's program, it's the return of Telltale. How WoW has regained an audience, and is it how WoW has regained an audience, and is it time to listen to some K-pop? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source, wishing everyone out there a tremendous Labor Day weekend. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is our K-pop band member of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out everything that's going on today at popculturecosmos.com, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, all of our Pop Culture Cosmos social media, and of course his book, Congratulations You Suck. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's going on, man?
You know what? I'm about to fire the guy that writes the intro script. So what you should have said was, wow, the telltale of K-pop today on the Pop Culture Cosmos. And that's all you needed right there. And people have been like, whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
The master of K-pop right there for you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We'll talk about K-pop a little bit later in the program. We're also going to be talking about the resurgence of WoW with WoW, the resurgence of World of Warcraft with WoW Classic, just gaining a whole bunch of headlines and a lot of viewers. Also, as well, we're going to talk about the controversy with Borderlands. Why is there controversy with Borderlands?
Hey, would you say that WoW has been raiding headlines?
Ooh, in a manner of speaking, yes. The only thing that's passing it right now is a Popeye's chicken sandwich. But we won't talk about that right now. But we will be talking about Borderlands crossing over with Fortnite and causing a whole lot of controversy, a lot of angry people out there. We'll also continue our list of the top 200 video games as you chose out there from number 161 to 170. We'll talk about the next numbers on the list there for you. Plus, also as well, we'll talk, like I said, on the back end of the show about some about some K-pop as well. But first, my friend, it is going to be a little bit of a slow week for pop culture, a slow weekend for pop culture. I guess because it's Labor Day weekend, a lot of people are taking the weekend off, and that goes as well for everything in pop culture. I know Disney World just opened Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and I know a lot of people were very excited about that. A lot of people just rushing right to it right away. But then again, we've already had it here in the on our side of the fence here in the U.S. Before we go ahead and talk a little bit about the resurgence of Telltale in a new fashion, so to speak, tell me about your thoughts on Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and what people can expect when they go to either the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Anaheim or in Orlando, Florida.
Wait, just clarify for me. That is Star Wars Land, right?
Well, that is Star Wars Land. That's correct. Yeah, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. They just opened it up at Disney World. It's gone, obviously everybody's crazy for it. There were, just mass hysteria going on there. It's almost like at a Popeyes.
Well, it just goes to show you that people in Florida are probably bigger Star Wars fans than Anaheim, because Anaheim's opening didn't exactly go as Disneyland planned, but Florida, I'm hearing there's like 3-hour lines to get into some of this stuff.
Well, I know Anaheim didn't. I think they did experience some of those things as well, didn't they?
No, when they first opened, they actually misjudged how many people were going to show up to this, because everyone avoided Disneyland because they thought that the opening of Galaxy's Edge was going to create a bunch of lines. So there's all these people going to Disneyland on these days that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was opening, and there was nobody in the park. There were no lines because everyone thought that it was going to be crowded.
Ah, I see. So miscalculation there, but not for Disney World. And it's even going to get better because once they have the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, aka the Star Wars Hotel that they're going to have there right adjacent to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge down there, aka Star Wars Land, it's going to be even better. It's going to be an even better experience down there in Orlando. I just, after D23, a lot of people are still buzzing about all the changes coming to Disney Plus and the Disney parks. And it's just amazing to see how the landscape is truly being dominated by Disney. Is it a good thing, my friend? I know we talked about it at length before when it comes to the movies, but as an overall experience, as you know, as a family man, I still think it's good because I think they're setting a right pattern in a lot of ways. But you're right when you spoke about how their greed sometimes overcomes their, sometimes it overcomes their good decision making.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say that's in the realm of movies and entertainment. But when it comes to like their theme parks, actually do an incredible job. Like if you come down, the last time you were in Disneyland, right? It was last year. If you go, like, because Disneyland is surrounded by, Harbor Boulevard, Chapman, Ball, the big major streets, Catella. They do such a great job of closing off your view of all that stuff, though. Like you go to Tomorrowland, you have the big Space Mountain building. You go into Frontierland, you have just plants, like walls and walls of plants. Like when you're in Disneyland, they do an incredible job of making you feel like you're someplace detached from everything else. So maybe money has gotten the best of them, but like they do a good with their theme parks. They do an incredible job. And as far as Star Wars is concerned, like I went to the one in Anaheim a couple of weeks ago, and it's really cool because you take this long path, and it's over. How do you get there? You know where the Winnie the Pooh ride was, right? Where they have Splash
Yes.
Mountain and stuff. So there's a walkway back there.
Don't take away my Splash Mountain, Disneyland.
No, the Splash Mountain's still there, but there's a walkway back there, and it kind of sets the whole thing up, right? Like you got your X-wing, you got your Chewbacca, you got some like merch stands and stuff like that. It creates the experience, and then it slowly starts to build up until you get into the actual Star Wars land, Galaxy's Edge, whatever it's called. And then it's all Star Wars. Like even you go into the bathrooms, and it's even everything looks like not just the cantina from Star Wars, but different places on Tatooine, and the building structure looks like something that would be what's it, Mos Eisley? Is that the place in the New Hope? Yes. Yeah. So the whole thing looks like that, and they got this giant Millennium Falcon hanging out, and it's a really cool place, and they're able, like, when you go into I don't know what I'm trying to say, but in Star Wars they play music, and it actually feels like it helps create the in like Frontierland, right? You can hear music sometimes, but it depends on if you're next to a speaker. In Star Wars land, they have music playing all over the place, so it actually gives you this feel. And since it's kind of smaller than a lot of the other places in Disneyland, it gives you this feel like you're being immersed into this world in Star Wars. Like it creates this feeling like you're walking on a movie set, and it's really cool.
But just don't take any of the thermal detonators, aka Star Wars Coke, that's there onto a plane, because TSA is going to take that right away from you.
Right. So when they ask you, they'll be like, you got to promise them also that you won't have any disintegrations. So,
well, if you shake it up, you're going to have an explosion, whether you like it or not.
I just, if your friends are trapped in carbonite, don't use that to bluff, is what TSA is trying to say.
There you go. But it is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It is now available, like we said, right now at Disney World, and also, of course, Disneyland as well. Just looking forward to all the expansions that Disneyland is going to do, that Disney's going to do for its theme parks, including, like I said, the Star Wars Hotel, aka the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. Of course, also as well, they're going to be talking about Marvel's Avengers Campus. Still don't love that name, Avengers Campus, but you know what? Hey, call it what you want. It's still going to be a Marvel's Avengers Land type deal that's going to be also at theme parks around the world for Disney. Just looking forward to everything going on, the Moana experience, the redoing of Epcot Center. Just looking forward to, in the future, taking my kids to see all those experiences. And I know a lot of other families and big Disney fans like yourself, Josh, as well. So looking forward to all that coming up with Disney. But my friend, the big news this week is somebody that I interviewed when I was going to National University. I interviewed him during my tenure there. His name is Colin Campbell. He's one of the lead writers for Polygon.com. He actually got a chance to break the story. I'm going to give him credit for doing so in the revival. I don't know. He said controversial revival after all that went through with Telltale Games. I mean, Telltale had their own style, their own way of storytelling, a lot of great titles that they did, including the Walking Dead series, those games that they made, and so many others that I know a lot of people just truly loved. A lot of issues with as far as the graphics, and sometimes they couldn't get it going as far as the frame rate, but as far as their narrative narrative storytelling, they just couldn't do it much better than what Telltale did during their series of games, because they made so many games that were so impactful to a lot of gamers. Unfortunately, they met their demise within recent times, but they are being revived from the dead, not entirely with the same type of crew that they had before. It's being revived. They're using the Telltale name. It's a company called LCG Entertainment. This week they're acquiring the Telltale Games name so they can go ahead and basically use the Telltale Games name for any upcoming games that they make, and they're acquiring some of the titles that Telltale's had in the past. It's a lot of people are saying that they're really excited for it. Others are saying it's not going to be the Telltale that they know and love, so they're not going to be able to get on board with it unless they see some games really come out that have that Telltale quality. I want to ask you, my friend, after all the games that you've played with Telltale and all the games that they produced in the past, how does a revival of Telltale sound to you?
This was weird when the story broke on this. They didn't specify if they're going to be keeping some of the IPs that they have. I know they specified 2, right? It was Batman and Wolf Among Us.
Wolf Among Us, but I think it says some in the story that he broke, but as far as which ones, I don't think that's 100% cleared out as of yet.
Yeah, I'm curious that a lot of the Telltale games that disappeared from like the Sony marketplace or the Xbox marketplace, are those going to be coming back? And if so, who is profiting off of them?
I mean, because The Walking Dead, that was the final game that they did was The Walking Dead, the final season. That came out earlier this year.
Right, and another company picked that up though, right?
Yeah, exactly, to go ahead and finish it because they had already died as an entity already. But you're right, the Game of Thrones, the Minecraft story mode, Guardians of the Galaxy, Tales from the Borderlands. I mean, they have so many titles which they've had in the past. They had even Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, a lot of licensed games, but still, what is the effect of that? I mean, you can go even back as far as Tales of Monkey Island and Sam and Max Save the World. You can even go back to that as far as what games that they've been a part of. Which ones are they keeping? Which ones are they going to revive? Which ones are they going to be able to go ahead and maybe look back into, maybe expand upon? I'm not sure as well, but I mean, is this a good sign for the video game industry that at least Telltale Games will survive in some form or fashion, even though it's not going to be the Telltale Games exactly 100% that we know and love?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the big question here is, are they going to be able to avoid the mistakes of the past? And that's going to ultimately be the deciding factor here. But if Telltale is, they're pioneers in what they've done as far as interactive storytelling goes and using popular IPs. I would love if this comeback is successful, I would love to see them come up with something original, because I imagine purchasing the licensing to some of those IPs, Guardians of the Galaxy especially, costs a pretty penny, and that's money that could be used to better develop some of these games.
Either that or jump on to maybe start off, maybe baby steps, maybe work on other people's games, things of that nature, get your feet wet once again, and then go ahead with your own storytelling narrative. But you're right, some of these licensed games and these decisions that they made financially just didn't make up to what they needed to go ahead and do, because you're paying so much for the licensing for some of these games. And again, it all came down to, because of the money that you're spending on all these licenses, they didn't generate enough volume in sales to go ahead and compensate for that, to earn enough of a profit to stay in business. I mean, of recent times, the most well-known series of games that they're best known for is the Walking Dead series, correct? You're silent.
Whoa, did you hear me clicking just now before I
Yes.
went mute? Oh, my bad. No, but Batman also got a lot of critical praise just because of the way that they portrayed the Joker. And so that's something that I have read a lot of articles about. And, also Walking Dead, but Batman was pretty high up there too.
Yeah, that's true. But The Walking Dead did get, actually, like you said earlier, that got a final season. I mean, that's something that a lot of people had reached toward to, but it didn't get quite enough, what they needed to do to stay in business the first time around. But you're right. It's about avoiding those same pitfalls and avoiding those same mistakes. I still think at some point in time down the road, we're going to see what this new revived Telltale Games can do. I think they can still make a great impression with gamers. No, it will not be the same exact Telltale Games. I think hopefully that they will learn from the mistakes of the past and be able to address them going forward. Do you see do you still see a reliance on licensed material, or do you see them branching out on their own? Because when they branched out into original territory, like The Wolf Among Us, among others, to use among twice right there, of The Wolf Among Us, and they really haven't gone too much outside of that in recent times, outside of licensing games in recent times. So I want to ask you, is this going to be something that they're going to trend to in the future as far as original IPs, steering away from the licensed territory? Or do you think that it just became so reliant on it that that's something that they're familiar with, and that's something that they're going to go ahead and deal with and turn towards to early on in the revival of Telltale Games?
Sorry, my dog is barking at nothing. Okay, do you want to? Okay, let me. Do you want to know what I would do if I were Telltale?
Absolutely. You're running Telltale. You put the cashola in there, my friend. You went ahead and you said, I'm going to revive Telltale Games. So I want to ask you, my friend, I'm interviewing you as the new head of Telltale Games. Congratulations.
Okay, so first order of business.
Hold on. Josh Peterson, what is your next step?
So first order of business, I'm going to go up into my office, put my feet up on my desk. I got my Sony fanboy suck t-shirt on. And then I am going to take a page out of the Marvel playbook, right? How they're getting all these writer-director teams that nobody has heard of, and they are injecting them into the Marvel universe and creating box office gold. So what I would do is I would find who are some of the most popular authors out there right now, right? There's a lot of really great talent breaking into the market. This is not a plug for myself, but because
you knew I was going to.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I wouldn't say no to it, but hey, there's a lot of talent out there. You have Ben Brooks, Jonathan Tropper. There's the guy that wrote Pierce Brown, who wrote the Red Rising trilogy. There's a lot of talented sci-fi and fiction writers out there that could take a property like this, an original IP, and create something magical from it. And it's basically that's what Telltale Games are. They're novels with pictures. Look at how successful Life is Strange has been. You create something that has an impactful narrative. It's sad. It plays to the emotions, and it's not based on anything. And I think that Telltale has the potential.
Pictures. There was some interaction as far as the game. I mean, it wouldn't be called a game.
Right. No, you're not reading a motion comic by any means. But I mean, the animators are the people animating the game are making the game based off of a story instead of forcing people to write a game based off of a property. I feel like if they took the Life is Strange approach or Wolf Among Us approach even, and got somebody who's actually talented at writing stories and creating narratives and pulling on people's heartstrings, they could create something magical. They could create the next Life is Strange.
That's true, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping that with this revived version of Telltale Games, that they'll go ahead and make smarter decisions and hopefully bank on some original IPs outside of just being solely reliant on these licensed properties. and be able to take that one notch higher and be able to bring Telltale back to a relevance. Do you think this is going to be possible? Do you think not by E3 next year, but let's say E3 3 years down the road, do you think Telltale will come out with maybe its second or third game by that time, and you'll say to yourself, Telltale Games is now a company I can trust once again?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it depends on if they can keep themselves, not make the same mistakes they made before, like overstaffing and over what's the word, burnout. I think they call it in the industry, burn out your employees, not making good financial decisions. They need to avoid doing stuff like that, and then maybe they definitely, if they're popping back up as Telltale, like they got a reputation that they have to smooth out before people really say, I trust them to make a really good game. And first of all, they got to make a really good game. They got to start there. But, in 3 years, who knows? Will E3 be around in 3 years? Who knows? But maybe they'll pop up at Gamescom. I don't know. And Telltale has always made smaller games too. So you got to take that into account. And the model does seem to work. So I think that they have a good foundation for a successful future. But like I said, they got a reputation they got to get past first.
This is true, but it's going to be a wait and see exactly how this revised version of Telltale Games will pan out. We're hoping for the best because as gamers, we're always looking for great alternatives when it comes to the design and as far as how we're looking for way we want narratives to be told in our gaming platforms. You and I especially, because we look really we actually sometimes prefer a gaming narrative over gameplay itself when it comes to what we want out of the video game, and not just always the same multiplayer, the same battle royale, the same shooter, the same type, same RTS, same RPG, all the same that you and I have seen for so many years. It's always great once we get every now and then a story that we can really invest our time into. I mean, you could not just Sasuna, and then also you just couldn't talk enough about God of War, Hellblade. You couldn't talk enough about. You thought that was incredible. I mean, I've told you at length about my desire and love for the Mass Effect and Uncharted series. I mean, those are great narratives as well. So if Telltale can just go ahead and, now that it's back in some form or fashion, not quite what it once was, but if it can come back stronger than ever, hopefully with some better narratives, with maybe some better choices in decision making, it can be 2, 3, 4 years down the line, even bigger than what Telltale was before. What are your thoughts out there on Telltale Games coming back to life once again? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, I want to ask you before we head to the break about the resurgence of WoW. That's right, World of Warcraft Classic is back once again in a new form, a little bit revived, a little bit refreshed. I want to ask you, because everybody went gaga over it, almost as much as Popeye's chicken sandwiches. You see that theme running through here, just like it was on our last episode. But it was really just something to see that a game that old can still have some great impact because it got a fresh coat of paint. A lot of people are getting back into it again because WoW Classic was available to WoW subscription holders once again, and just the people that were in it were so invested, so excited to be back into that realm once again, reliving a lot of the same memories that they had so many years ago. But the fact is, why it's so important is that there was over 1 million people at certain given points in time watching and following on streaming platforms. So I ask you, my friend, for anybody out there that's interested, is it time to get back into WoW Classic and Wizard of Warcraft once again?
Did you just say Wizard of Warcraft?
World of Warcraft. Is it time to get back into World of Warcraft and WoW once again?
Yeah, I mean, At
I
this
mean,
point,
yeah. Did you? How much did you play it back in the day? I played it a little, but how much did you play it back in the day?
I only played it at my friend's house, so I never had a computer that was good enough to run. I've never been part of the PC master race. I've never had a computer good enough to run any of this stuff. So the only time I ever played any type of PC games was at friend's house. I had consoles. I had Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64, Sony PlayStation, yada yada. But okay, so it's a fun game. Like I'd go to my friend's house and I'd watch them do raids and stuff. And I know like I had friends in high school who'd wake up. Brian Wegner from the Super BS Gamescast, he would wake up especially early to go do to raid dungeons, and like I know a lot of people who have a lot of really great memories with that game. And yeah, this seems like a good as good a time as any to bring it back, because we haven't had a new Warcraft property in years, and it doesn't look like we're going to be getting anything new. Outside of the expansions, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting anything new, like a World of Warcraft 2 or a Warcraft 4, whatever might be next in the pipeline for that franchise. It doesn't sound like we're going to be getting that. So, I think that gamers know that, and the fact that they're just clamoring for anything new to play. And the WoW subscription I know has dropped a little bit, if I remember correctly. But
yeah, it did. But I mean, it was so expensive before that kept a lot of people away, even though it was so immensely popular. But yeah, it's because of its age, it had to go down in price at some point in time.
Right. So that being said, like I think that this is a good time, because we have all these game remasters, right? We keep clamoring for Mass Effect. We've had Spyro reimagined. We've had Crash has come back out. Even some of these big MMOs, Elder Scrolls Online, like they shut down for a bit and then came back. Final Fantasy 14 came back with a Realm Reborn. Like there's Final Fantasy 7 being remastered. There's so many games being remastered. Don't you feel like it was just a matter of time until Warcraft came out remastered?
Yeah, you're right. Especially knowing Blizzard, they got to go ahead and delve into that cookie jar once again and try to see if people can relive the magic. I think a lot of other games are primed to go ahead and get that same type of new coat of paint. I mean, we see it all the time. There's like at least 10 to 20 re-releases every single year from games in the past that we're now seeing. I mean, the talk of this week is The Lion King and Aladdin coming from Sega. They're getting a new coat of paint as well.
Yeah, I saw that. That's kind of, I mean, it's cool. I don't know like how The Lion King on Sega Genesis was one of the most frustrating games I have ever played in my life, because you had to time every jump perfectly. So I'm wondering, like, how is that mechanic going to work on the Switch? Because the buttons are very reactive. So is it going to be easier? Is it going to be more difficult? I don't know, but I'm sorry. Yeah, but I'm excited to play them. I don't know. Maybe it's something I'll pick up on Black Friday, but it's not like a instant buy for me.
And the next day, Josh will have to go and get a new Nintendo Switch because he threw his across the room and it broke.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, man, jumping over there's like the spike plant pits, like those always got me, man. I always kept going back for more punishment because I swore that I could do it better.
Well, but I want to ask you, getting back to WoW Classic and the fact that right now a lot of people are following it, a lot of people are watching it. That's a new element. I don't think a lot of people, realize that would happen and take place, because yeah, there was always streaming going on with WoW, ever since the streaming market even took place, when Twitch first arrived and other streaming platforms first arrived. I mean, WoW was one of the first games to actually have that type of, any type of movement of people following it. But to go back into the world of Azeroth, to go back into all those memories that a lot of people have of playing WoW for so long. I mean, that type of following and just people watching it, dude, over 1 million viewers at the same time watching, something that people have been playing for basically 15 years plus. That's incredible, man. That just shows the power of what a lot of people like to do when as far as nostalgia. I mean, we touch on this on almost every episode. Nostalgia, if it's done in the right way, really does pay.
Right. I think it was you I was talking to about this, or maybe someone else. But the idea that like nostalgia, the market, there's so much nostalgia in the market right now that it's bound to collapse. Like there has to be something new coming out because much like Disney, nobody's really uh, being innovative anymore. So it's a lot of the popular games, like people are depending on already made franchises. So I mean, you think if Blizzard were to put focus into something that's not World of Warcraft related, not uh StarCraft related, do you think if they put focus onto something new that they could create something that recaptures the magic of WoW?
I think they could have something that does very well. I mean, what about Overwatch? I mean, they brought that out. That garnered a lot of mainstream input, a lot of people watching it on streaming outlets like Twitch and all the whole nine yards. I mean, a lot of people were watching and initially were very interested in Overwatch. I mean, the Overwatch League, a lot of people are getting into it. I know a lot of people that were associated with Game Source that were really excited to play it and get into it. So when Blizzard wants to do something right, it is a big event. And they're one of the few developers or publishers, whichever way you want to say it, that when they bring out a game, it does garner attention. So yes, if they bring out another IP in about a year or two, whatnot, because just like Rockstar and some other high-profile brand names that are out there, they don't bring out games every year. They bring out games every 3, 5, 7 years. And when they do, it's a big event. So I could see them with whatever next IP that they're going to bring out have that type of effect that they're seeing now from WoW Classic.
Yeah, of course, because people go to a lot like BlizzCon, right? They go awaiting the big announcement, and it's not often. It's not. They don't go, oh, I hope it's an Overwatch 2 or I hope it's a World of Warcraft 2. It's like they want something exciting. And I think no matter what Blizzard puts out, it's going to be exciting to them. I think Blizzard's issue is that they have, there's so much going on there behind the scenes because they were being investigated last year, wasn't it? Between Blizzard and Activision. Like I don't think that they're what do you call it? The people who fund the game creation. Like I don't think that they're willing to take chances, and that's something that needs to happen for them to be successful.
Absolutely. But you know what? Right now they are feeling it with WoW Classic, just getting a lot of interest once again, reviving. And that's the theme of our first half hour here has been reviving, whether it's Star Wars at Disneyland, Disney World, the resurgence of the rebirth of Telltale Games, or the resurgence of WoW Classic. We're really seeing an investment in nostalgia, and that's just paying off right now for all those companies that are involved. Plus, when it comes to WoW Classic, not only is it getting older players back into what they were playing before, but it's bringing new people in, people that maybe didn't start playing until this decade as far as games are concerned, that were missed the first wave of WoW popularity and are now wondering what's going on, what's all this with World of Warcraft. Got to find out what it is. And because remember, not everybody did get the free disc that was out there, or the cheap disc that you could get right there at the local store right there that was ready to go for you, like in the old days. Not everybody remembers that. So people could be now getting into World of Warcraft for the first time, or if they're going back to it because World of Warcraft Classic is putting a new coat of paint on the world of Azeroth, and a lot of people are sure enjoying it and probably will be enjoying it for some time to come. What are your thoughts out there on WoW Classic? Are you playing it? Are you getting back into it? Are you tempted to get back into it? Let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next in our second half hour, we're going to be talking about the Borderlands Fortnite controversy. We're also going to break down our list of the top 200 video games of all time with our next 10, which is 161 to 170. And is Josh ready to do some K-pop? We'll find out coming up in our second half. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with the show. It's Gerald coming right back at you here. Want to thank so much for everybody listening out there. I just cannot thank enough everybody for watching and listening to our programs. Josh, you wanted this as part of the show because it came up this week that there's an in-game event again with Fortnite. And Fortnite, this is one of the master strokes that helped bring them to the massive popularity that both you and I saw last year, that just put them in a space that very few video games have ever approached. They're not exactly at that level at this point in time, but still they're very popular at this, very popular right now. And another in-game event just happened like we've seen before with Marvel and other things that they've done as far as in-game events, concerts, a lot of innovative stuff that we've never seen before out of a video game. They recently brought Borderlands into the world of Fortnite for a crossover event, but it didn't seem to go well with everyone, did it?
No, it's funny because I've been kind of following this all week, and I've been coming up on the social media posts and just because I'm curious, because the people who like Borderlands are completely different from the people who like Fortnite. And that's kind of evident in the way that everyone is raging against the fact that Borderlands 3 won't be on the Steam store for the first 3 months that it's out. And it's funny to me because, hold on. Dog's drinking.
Dog is drinking once again, like clockwork. I think your dog only seems to drink water twice a week, and that's Sunday when we taped, and Thursday when we tape. I think that's the only time your dogs like to drink water.
Yeah, so it would seem.
And they make up for all the lost time and the fact that they're so thirsty in between days, and they just go ahead and drink right there.
Okay, so as I was saying, there's a lot of bad blood between Borderlands players and Fortnite players, and I think that is what caused the whole the Steam fanboys getting mad that it was on Epic Store, because that's it. Borderlands is more mature, I guess you can say, whereas Fortnite's something that's more for kids. And the fact that you have these hardcore gamers who absolutely hate Fortnite but love Borderlands, and you have these worlds crossing over, it's just they're not going to be happy about it, because there's two types of gamers, right? You either are, when it comes to Fortnite, you either love Fortnite or you hate Fortnite. And if you hate Fortnite and they cross over the game that you do love, of course you're going to be mad about it. So it's funny. It's been funny watching the reactions of this. I know Jason Mewes of Jay and Silent Bob fame has been streaming it, but they're two worlds that seem very weird to be put together, and it's not having a good audience reaction.
No, it isn't. But I think that leads to a larger argument or larger question as far as not only Borderlands being in Fortnite, and that's not to me a big deal, and nor should it be. It's just advertising. Hey, if they're making this exclusive deal with the Epic Game Store, and I think that's what came out of it. It was, hey, look, if Borderlands, we want to go ahead and advertise Borderlands in Fortnite, which is kind of weird advertising a video game within a video game. But we've come to that point in 2019 where those kind of things happen. But it does in my opinion, lead to a larger issue we need to discuss. And that is the dichotomy that we're seeing right now as far as the battle and the kind of mind games that are going on with fans and gamers alike when it comes to Epic Store versus Steam. So Steam is, for PC gamers out there, Steam has been the marketplace for so many years. GOG, aka Good Old Games, has not been something that's even been on their radar really that much. But Steam has been the dominant force in PC gaming seemingly forever now. And now you have Epic Game Store coming onto the horizon right now, trying to build up its library, trying to make exclusive deals. But every time that there's exclusive deals made, in fact, there's been case after case after case of developers being harassed, by people upset that it's not in the Steam store. It's actually getting to the point where it's really becoming, a lot of verbiage and a lot of bad will, a lot of bad feelings towards these developers and programmers when it comes to people on that platform exclusively. So I want to hear your thoughts, man, when it comes to the conflict right now between the Steam store and the Epic's Game Store. I mean, to me, it's getting a little bit nastier than it ever was with Sony and Microsoft.
Other dog is drinking now. Hold on.
Oh.
Okay, so as far as that goes, like what's dumb about it to me is the fact that these are both companies that make or at one time made games, if that makes sense. Like Steam, Valve, Epic, obviously known for games like
Gears of War, and then with Steam, it's Left 4 Dead, Half-Life. Don't even get me started.
Right. So there's a whole feud there. But I mean, at the end of the day, don't you think that's kind of dumb? Because both storefronts are free. You don't, whereas Steam, you have to install something. Epic Store, you can just click on it and download the game, and that's all you need. But it's not like it's costing you any money to use one platform versus another. And they're both, the servers aren't on Epic, the servers are on your computer. You just install the game and it plays like an old PC game where it connects you to a server, much like Counter-Strike, then you play with your friends. I don't get what the whole controversy is about, but everyone's getting like super hostile towards each other over it.
Well, I think it's because, again, it goes back to exclusivity because Steam is so much more populated than Epic Game Store at this point in time. When anything goes as far as onto an Epic's Game Store format and stays exclusive for any length of time, a lot of people get hostile over because they don't want to switch from Steam to Epic and go back to Steam what game they were playing. But there's also within the development community, I know, because there's different payouts and percentages, I think with one leaning towards the other, I think that's also becoming a sign that within the industry, it's becoming problematic as well.
Yeah, and I also feel like a lot of people are seeing like what Steam has done, and they're like, oh, we could do something like that. It's kind of like how the streaming services, right? People have been watching what Netflix is doing, like, oh, we could do something like that, and boom, we have a whole butt ton of streaming services, and I have a feeling it's gonna be the same thing with gaming soon. We're gonna have a bunch of people with separate storefronts or separate gaming streaming services. There's just a lot going on there, and it's Epic Store will not be the last thing that pops up.
I don't think so, but right now it's still Steam. I think with most of the market share, Epic Game Store. I think a lot of people are know of it, are interested in it. But as long as they keep making these exclusive deals, they're going to have some people wanting to go ahead over on that side. But you're also going to have a lot more people that are diehard Steam fans, all also trying to go ahead and just be so definitive in their actions and their words about just the type of dismay that they have over the games not being able to come over to Steam right away. So because Steam is not making these type of exclusive deals.
No, but the Steam store is like it's so messy and oversaturated with things, and especially like from what I understand, like the porn games are a real issue on Steam too. Like you go on like their top selling games, it's all these these indie created half pornography games that people are making, and that's something that I feel like Epic doesn't do, right? Because they have Fortnite. Fortnite's a game that kids play, so it is one of those things where it feels like Epic's kind of been watching what Steam is doing wrong, and this is their chance to kind of come out the gates doing it right.
Let me ask you this. Even though Steam has the large lead at this point in time, is it something 5 years down the line we're going to be saying, hey, look at Epic Game Store, they're the big kid on the block, and Steam is the one that has some fading glory?
Well, we also have to take into consideration on Steam is that you can create your own games, right? Like they have dev kits they put out, and there's even like Steam Game Builder. Like you can you can play those. So Steam literally accepts any type of game. So if you're an indie creator, Steam is where you go. So until Epic has that kind of accessibility, I don't really feel like Steam is in any danger of being knocked off their pedestal.
What does everyone out there think about the ongoing battle between Steam and the Epic Game Store? Got to hear your thoughts on it. And was it cool for Borderlands to be invading into Fortnite territory? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, we got to continue our list, my friend, of the top 200 video games of all time. If you want to go ahead and check out the lists as they are right now, updated each and every day, you want to check it out on our popculturecosmos.wordpress.com site. I mean, it's each day we bring you a new 10 every single day that these were voted on by you, the fans out there that follow us. So we truly appreciate everyone taking the time to have made their list down. And our big list is continuing with numbers 161 to 170. So I'm going to give you the countdown, my friend. Here is the numbers 161 to 170. Starts off with GTA 3, Grand Theft Auto 3 at number 170. Going to start again with 169 is Dungeon Explorer. That's 160 for the TurboGrafx 16. Going way back on that one. Number 168 is the original Darksiders game. 167 is Crazy Taxi. 166 is Comic Zone. And 165 is ActRaiser. Before we head down on any more of those lists, is there any of these games that sticks out to you? For me, I could tell you right now, it's Crazy Taxi. That was one game during the 90s that I just could not get enough of because it was just so much fun to play. It was so wacky, so different, and it just seemed like it was just a lot of fun. And even today, when you can play it, whether you're playing it through a type of modifier or a MAME or however you get the chance to play it in today's format or even on retro consoles, it still is a lot of fun to play. I know Darksiders, a lot of people at Game Source, when it first came out, were just going gaga over it, and they enjoy it so much. It's still a great-looking game, even to this day. But, my friend, is there any game so far that we've counted down on the first 5 that we've talked about that really appealed to you in any fashion?
Okay, so much like you, I've got good memories with Crazy Taxi. I have it on my phone, actually, so I'll play it when I get bored.
And doesn't that blow your mind that something that you were playing in the arcades in the 90s and needed all that horsepower at that time was top of the line? Now
right.
You put it on a phone.
Right. Well, look, it's the same thing with Comic Zone. Like, Comic Zone was also a Sega Genesis game from the 90s, and that's one of those games where it was cool in the fact that you were jumping from panel to panel. So Crazy Taxi and Comic Zone, those are my jams when I was a kid, man. Like, when I wasn't dying in The Lion King or playing Sonic the Hedgehog, like Crazy Taxi and Comic Zone were 2 of my favorite games to play, and now I have them both on my cell phone, so I can just, if I'm waiting in line somewhere, just bust them out and play them.
Comic Zone, I remember seeing on one of the first Sega Genesis US commercials, if I'm not mistaken. That was something that really what they wanted to go ahead and really start the trend of getting the Genesis going, getting it to the point where they were going to go ahead and compete on a level with Nintendo. And for a time, the Genesis was really at a level comparative to Nintendo, although it wasn't very long. And you actually clued me in onto the great book that Jason Shearer wrote. I actually got a chance to read it earlier this year, and I tell you, it does really go in detail in regards to those years between Nintendo and Sega.
Yeah, he does. Jason Schreier does a lot of really, really great research, and he, if you listen to a lot of gaming podcasts, everyone always jokes around before they say something controversial, afraid that Jason Schreier's hiding in their bushes somewhere. So, but yeah, no, there's a lot of, the 90s had great games, man. Like, you had your Golden Axe, your Streets of Rage. It's whether or not you were a Sega or Nintendo kid, like, there were a lot of great games that come out of that era. And there are things that, like, if I see it on an arcade today, of course I'm going to sit down and play it. It's how can you not? Because and I know that like modern games have more advanced storytelling tactics, but I mean these were games that inspired an entire generation to love video games.
It is the book Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. It's something I highly recommend. You can get it on Amazon. Jason Schreier from Kotaku did an outstanding job, and I couldn't. And if you really want to go ahead and delve into detail in that battle that happened in the '90s between Sega and Nintendo, really, that's the book to point towards you. And I'm looking forward to if Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg ever get a chance to go ahead and pull it off and actually have a movie represent that book. Going on to continue our list of the top 200, going to the back half of to the bottom half of the bottom half of the 160s. Let's continue on with number 165 is ActRaiser for the SNES. 164 is a game that I know you and I have both played in recent times. I truly just admire this game. It was an incredible narrative experience, and that is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Really happy it's on the list. Undertale, which is an underrated indie game. A lot of people should go ahead and give it a try. Undertale is at 163. Super Smash Bros. Melee, a very popular game at the time for the GameCube. That is at 162. A lot of people love that to play Super Smash Bros. With the GameCube controller, and I think a lot of that came from playing that game during that point in time. You also have Soul Calibur. I mean, when you're passing by in the arcades and you hear Soul Calibur in the distance, you got just gets that blood pumping, gets you ready to go ahead and get into that fight. Soul Calibur is at 161. My friend, I'm telling you, these are some great titles. Again, just so many to talk about. It was ActRaiser, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, Undertale, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and Soul Calibur. That's a great bottom half of the 160s right there for you.
Yeah, so okay, I played Wolfenstein 2, loved it. Love Wolfenstein games. Like the narrative is really great, but I love how they're not afraid to go over the top and they can still pack an emotional punch with their story. Undertale, I played briefly, didn't really get a chance to fully dive into that one. And as for the other ones, I wasn't a GameCube player, so I never really I'd never owned a GameCube, so I didn't get into Melee. Soul Calibur was fun. I never followed it past the arcade versions of it, though.
But, Soul Calibur obviously has been successful because it's led to so many iterations after the original. A lot of people have still loved it since. I don't think it's the most popular or the most famous or the best fighting game series that's out there. I think you and I are just going to have to sit down at some point in time and talk about what is the best fighting game series of all time. But we'll save that for another day. Super Smash Bros. Melee, I think that's more famous from the fact that it was the first fighting game that you could really utilize that GameCube controller, which even today, my friend, when every time a Super Smash Brothers comes out, a new iteration in that series, a lot of people still go back to that GameCube controller and say that's the best thing that they can use in playing the whatever iteration of the Super Smash Brothers franchise. A lot of these games are just, really the list is getting better and better and better as we continue. But you're right. Wolfenstein 2, the narrative that's built into there with the whole Wolfenstein series, as far as since it's been redone, since it's been remade, it's just incredible where it's going and where they're taking you with it. I think Bethesda and id they've got to get themselves a nice pat on the back because they've really done a great job with Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus.
Yeah, Wolfenstein 2, like it's one of those games, like it came out at the right moment, I guess, and it spoke to everybody in a political way, right? So like I wrote here in the thing is that we're in this era, right, where everyone who has opposing political opinions is considered a Nazi. So it's Wolfenstein 2 is a game wherever you stand on the the side of the political aisle, it speaks to you in a way, right? So you feel there's a lot of oppression happening from both sides of the political debate, and that's why I think Wolfenstein 2 resonated so well with people, and it's a very relevant game too, and I think that it'll be relevant for years to come. And it's a good narrative. I tell you, man, that part with the dog still makes me cry, but it's so good, you know, and it's no wonder this franchise has lasted as long as it has, because it speaks to the players, and it also is just it's a well-made game.
One thing I gotta ask you when it comes to Wolfenstein before we head to the break, my friend, and that is this: Wolfenstein has created such a great narrative and expanded on it with DLC, the Freedom Chronicles, after Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus was released. And after that, Wolfenstein Youngblood told the tale of BJ Blazkowicz, who's the hero in the Wolfenstein series. It told the tale of his daughters, you know, as far as liberating Paris and trying to go ahead and battle their way through Paris as it's being dominated by the Nazis. And you go through that story, and it tells briefly a little bit about what's going on with BJ Blazkowicz, because he's gone AWOL and missing and all that. I want to ask you, there is definitely going to be a Wolfenstein 3 at some point down the line to go ahead, either finish off the trilogy or expand the Wolfenstein universe even more. Where do you think this is going to go from here, and where do you think it's going to lead to for BJ Blazkowicz?
Well, that's the interesting thing, because they're talking to the devs at E3, and they were saying that they've basically, by creating this this game with the daughters, right, they've made it so the story can go anyway. Like, they have possibly created a separate timeline, right? So we have all this time that's missing when the girls are growing up, because in this they're older, right? So where did that 16 to 18 years go? And they can tell a story back then, or they can tell a story that follows. Dude, I'm sorry, hold on. Hey, give me a minute, please.
Once again, we're talking about our top 200 lists of the all-time top 200 video games of all time. If you want to check out our list, it's available now at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. We truly appreciate everyone out there that gets a chance to check out the list. And we're breaking it down each day. Each day we're giving you another 10 to look at, another 10 of the top 200 to look at each and every day. And they're popping up right there at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. Such a great list so far. It's gone through some really, really great games, both modern and retro. It's got a nice mix, a nice feel. If you want to share your thoughts on what favorite games have brought great memories to you, please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com.
Sorry, man. Hey, I'll just be honest with you. I live in a house with other people, so I can't stop every time there's a noise in the future. But yeah, sorry. I don't even remember what I was talking about.
You were talking about the future for BJ Blazkowicz and Wolfenstein 3.
Yeah, I mean, they have essentially crafted two possible storylines, two places they can go. But you know, it just depends on, are they ever going to? It just depends on where they want to go with it. Are they going to keep fighting Nazis? Is it going to be where do they want to go with the story? I don't have any ideas right now. But yeah, the future's bright. I'm sorry, man, I'm burning out. But yeah,
No worries.
the future's looking good, man. And as long as they keep crafting stories that are relevant, then I think it could be something cool.
Definitely could be something cool. And again, if you want to go ahead and check out our list, it's available now at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. As we're breaking down the top 200, there are lists of 10 that come out each and every day. So you want to follow it as a new list of 10 comes out as they're breaking down the numbers as we get closer and closer to number one. The popculturecosmos.wordpress.com site that's also breaking down the next 10 and the next 10 and the next 10 each and every day. So you want to follow it there, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. All right, coming up right after the break, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about some K-pop, and is it ready to take over the world right as we close out the show? This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with the show. It's the PCC Multiverse. If you need a listing of where we're at, because we're being played all around the world 7 days a week, you got to check out our site at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. You'll get a listing of all the great radio stations that we're on, including our friends at Good Talk Radio, who play our shows back to back. Cannot thank them enough for doing so. That is Good Talk Radio. You got to check them out. Or if you want to listen to us on a podcast form, we're on over 30 different podcast outlets, including our great friends at Podchaser. So you want to give them a try at podchaser.com or your Podchaser app. You can also check out many of those options as well on our popculturecosmos.com, Popculture Cosmos Facebook page as well. My friend, before we go ahead and send it over to you about Congratulations, You Suck, I got to let you know, man, you asked for it. And there is now an article that I put up in regards to the Popeyes chicken sandwich craze. A lot of people were going gaga for it. In fact, the inventory, I'll give you a little thing. The inventory of Popeyes chicken for their chicken sandwich that they had that was going to run through the end of September is already sold out. So nationwide, they're already sold out. They announced it. They're trying to get back in enough inventory so that they can go ahead and it will become a permanent staple of the menu. Hopefully they're thinking 2 weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks before they go ahead and get that supply in. But I'm telling you, man, it was just awesome to see the sensation, and I got a chance to write about it. So I hope people get a chance to check it out at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. So yes, you'll get a chance to check it out, and you won't have to go through 90-minute, 2-hour lines or get stopped by the police or anything like that when you go to Popeyes here, hopefully this time next month. My friend, you've got a great thing going on with your book, Congratulations, You Suck. So please share the goods, my friend. Why should people get Congratulations, You Suck?
So are you saying on your article people can taste this chicken sandwich vicariously through you?
They can, or they can check out our previous episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos, because I actually indicate on both the article and also our previous episode as well just how good this sandwich actually is.
All right, well, definitely go check that out. I'm going to read it. I'm excited. I want to hear about it. As for Congratulations, You Suck, you can pick it up today on Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, Book Locker, and a few other places. I saw that Amazon's got a few other sellers now. You can go. Thank you to everyone who has reviewed it so far. If you do purchase the book, please leave me a review on Amazon. I would be greatly appreciative of it.
So it is back on Amazon.com.
No, it's not. You can get it on Kindle, but it's going to take a couple of weeks for them to get in stock on Amazon.com.
Okay.
But you can buy it on Barnes & Noble. So
there you go. So if you buy it at barnesandnoble.com or walk into your local Barnes & Noble and request Congratulations, You Suck by Josh Peterson, they'll actually send it to the store so you can buy it from there, or it's on the Nook or the Kindle. You know, it's just a great book and you got to give it a chance. Congratulations, You Suck. Well, my friend, I want to thank you for hanging out with me. I know we had a lot of things to go over on this week's show. We've got a lot coming up for Sunday's show in regards to talking some fantasy football. Hopefully, finally going to be talking some fantasy football. I know we've had a lot of delays in that. I'm just eager to talk about it, especially with the NFL season coming around. Hopefully, we'll be able to play another great song that we played that from one of our people, one of our music artists that we've played so many times in the past. But she's got a new song that she wants us to go ahead and play, and that's Carrie Music. So looking forward to that as well. And I'm actually going through playing Wreckfest right now, and I'll have a review of that for the Monday show, the Pop Culture Cosmos as well. So you got to stay tuned for that, because that has been Destruction Derby, just all over the place. It's a different kind of racing game from the makers of Flat Out. I tell you what, and it is something to see, to be believed when it comes to Wreckfest, and I'll have a review of that on the Monday show, the Pop Culture Cosmos. My friend, is K-pop ready to take over the world? Because I'll tell you what, young girls screaming all over the place for all this K-pop that's been going on. This craze has just kicked into overdrive in the past couple of years. We've seen it get larger and larger. They're now going ahead and merging with pop bands. I've seeing them play with pop bands. I've seen them play with EDM artists, and the blend of the actual style of music lends itself to EDM and all that. I mean, BTS, which is one of the most popular K-pop groups that are out there, I mean, they just took a break, which just broke the hearts of millions of kids out, millions of young girls out there, just broke their hearts because they're taking a break because they've been on tour for so long, just people going so crazy for it. I mean, right now they actually have a concert film that's doing so well overseas, and it's coming in November to the States here. A lot of other K-pop bands are gaining momentum. A lot of announcements are being made about other K-pop bands ready to take over the world, ready to take over Europe and the US and Asia and all that. I mean, we're right now at a point in time where K-pop is getting very close to becoming a mainstream type of format that we haven't seen in quite some time. So I want to ask you, my friend, we've seen this transition before as far as British invasions in the 60s and 80s, the grunge music in the 90s, heavy metal metal and hard rock and disco in the 70s. We've seen it as far as new wave and pop coming back into form in the early 2000s. So I want to ask you, my friend, is K-pop going to become the wave of the future that's going to have that mainstream appeal?
I'll be honest, I don't think so. It's a moment in time. It's Taylor Swift music. It's what was Gangnam Style, right? Like, that was huge, and there's a couple other bands popping up, or musicians of that style popping up, and now no one has heard from any of them since. I think it'll have its moment in time. I don't think that's going to be something that truly influences what happens going forward. Because, and also, like, how much of the rise of the K-pop style music do you think is due to, anime, right? Anime soundtracks are huge right now. You can go to, if you're, Americans visiting Japan always hit up the anime soundtrack stores where they have the soundtracks of video games, like Final Fantasy 15, full of K-pop style music. So it's like I think we have a lot of the stuff that we consume here popularizes that stuff here when it's already huge overseas. I imagine, like, in Japan, places like that, K-pop is already huge. So it's like, it's as long as there's anime series and movies and video games coming out that are using that music, it's going to continue to grow here. But I think it's only going to grow as much as the mediums that that's portrayed in, as far as in American culture.
Well, I mean, the music lends itself to being a part of the EDM storefront, electronic dance music type of platform. And I think in and of itself, yeah, that's part of the reason why it's gotten so popular, because a lot of people are into EDM. They really like the sound, really like the instrumental. I mean, over the years, instrumental music and was something that electronic instrumental music was something that had its niche, but it was no larger than really a niche. I enjoyed it immensely over the course of the 80s and 90s and 2000s, but it really didn't come into full fruition until really the EDM and the DJs, as far as the people that really came to the forefront as far as that whole scene is concerned. And K-pop is, to me, an offshoot of that because it blends a lot of that style of music. And I can see it becoming really, really big. But you're right. Its time, I think, will be limited as far as its popularity and reach, as far as a mass appeal is concerned. But it'll always be popular in Asia for many years to come. I think a lot of people would just have to respect it. It's, they can laugh it off and say, you know what, I can't get into it. And that's fine. We've said that about every type of music style or something that's gone big. I mean, back in the 60s when the Beatles became popular. I mean, when Beatlemania hit it big, a lot of people that were out of touch really didn't want to get into it. When disco was big, a lot of people didn't want to get into that. When Duran Duran and so many other British acts of the 80s, nobody wanted to get into that. We talked about grunge music. How many people were scoffing at Nirvana when that album, when their first hit album came out? So I don't know, man. K-pop is going to be big. I know it's not for everybody, but I do know that there is a big future in K-pop. But man, I don't know. I think you might actually somewhere deep down have a little bit of affection for K-pop. I think I might find you at the next BTS concert when they do come back.
Well, I'm just the fact that you basically said K-pop is EDM with vocals on it. Is enticing me to go check it out actually right now as we speak.
It depends on the type of K-pop. Some of it can get a little bit boy bandish because essentially it is in some ways a boy band and EDM. But the way they go ahead and blend it, sometimes it's really done very well. And you know what? I think a lot of people might get into it a lot more in the near future if there's a lot of crossover that will continue for K-pop. What are your thoughts out there on K-pop? Are you enjoying it? Do you want to get into it? Are you scared of it? Let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. My friend, it's been a great episode. Any last thoughts on the way out?
No, not tonight. I think we covered everything I wanted to talk about.
We have survived another episode, my friend, and I'm so blessed and I'm so thankful because the doldrums in August are very hard to find a lot of great content, but I think we did on this week's PCC Multiverse. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great